Damon Martin, MMA fighting here with the GOAT herself. She is the top pound for pound boxer in the world and now making her second appearance in the PFL for her second MMA fight. Welcome back, Claressa Shields. Claressa, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time for me. I really appreciate it. I assume you are down in Albuquerque. How is everything at Jackson Wink getting ready for your second pro fight in MMA?
It's been very hard work and it's been fun though. And it's been a really, really great camp. And it's been a different experience getting ready because now I'm getting ready for a different fighter up in Abigail Montez, who is more of a, puncher, and she throws kicks and stuff. So it's been a different kind of preparation, but we've done just as much ground game as we did last camp, this camp.
So let me backtrack, of course, to your first fight. Congratulations on the win. It was such a gutsy performance. We saw how much heart you had in that fight. I mean, people saw you never gave up. You got in bad positions, but you battled out and you got the win. What did you learn about yourself, in that fight? Because you can learn things from every fight, but I imagine you learned a lot about yourself in that fight.
I learned that I could do whatever I put my mind to, and I learned about myself that I really just do not have a panic button. I don't know why. Like certain things happen in my life or in the gym or in boxing, and I've always just had a way to remain calm. And I think that definitely helped me and played in my favor on my pro debut.
What's amazing to me is that, during your boxing career, you've been so dominant, you know what I mean? You've been so dominant. Now I know in every boxing match you're wary, taking punches, things like that. So I know you're not going in there thinking I'm just going to walk through every opponent, but you've been so dominant. You haven't really been in those positions in boxing in a long time. But you reacted so well. Like you never panicked. You never seemed like you were out of the fight, and you were always making it dangerous for her. And then you come back and finish her in the third. I mean, that had to be a great feeling because you really haven't had that position in boxing in so long.
Yeah, I don't think I had that position in boxing ever. I think in my fight against Hannah Gabriels. It was my first fight out up at 160, and I was struggling to make weight for the 160 weight class a few years ago. And in first round, she knocked me down, and the only reason she knocked me down is because I struggled with the weight for that fight. But after that fight, I had a strong nutrition team, great strength and conditioning training, just eating healthier, being a better fighter, not just inside the ring, but outside the ring. So I changed up a lot after that. And I've been very, very dominant. But I don't know, just about like the performance though, like I didn't panic because I always think about what's the worst thing that can happen in a fight. And in MMA, the worst thing that can happen to me, besides losing, is like being choked out or being grounded and pounded on the ground, not able to get up, and then you kind of have to like surrender. So that was the worst thing I was worried about, but I wasn't scared. I already had faced the fact that I may be taken down, and I had already kind of put in my brain that I wasn't afraid to be taken down because I knew what to do when I was on the ground when I'm taken down. And we had worked a lot on getting up. So there were a few times that I got up, but my mind was thinking so fast that I kept rushing Brittany Elkin and ended up back on top of her. And with her brown belt experience, she kept flipping me over. But I just kept telling myself to remain calm and don't get hurt. And that's kind of what I did for that fight.
Yeah, I spoke to your teammate Holly Holm a couple of weeks ago, and she's kind of the blueprint in a way because she came from boxing and became, a very successful mixed martial artist. And she said, not only was she proud of you for your performance, but she's like, in a way, I'm kind of glad Claressa went through those moments because she felt what it was like and then came out on the other side of that. Now, I didn't really think about it that way, but that's true because if you had just gone in and knocked out Brittany Elkin in 30 seconds or 2 minutes, what did you really learn in that fight? But she's like, in a weird way, I'm kind of glad she went through that because now she knows what she needs to work on. She went through the adversity, but you still got the win, which is what's most important, right?
Yeah.
And she was just like, I was really proud of her. And I imagine Holly's probably a huge asset, in your training, because again, she's kind of the blueprint, right? Like she's kind of the blueprint you follow.
She is not kind of the blueprint. She is the blueprint. One of the reasons why I actually chose a Jackson Wink to train at, because they had already trained with Holly Holm and, made her be a great MMA fighter. And then they also had Johnny Bones, who I'm a super fan of because of his great assets and his great skills. And it just was like all tied into one. So I was, it's been, man, it's really been a blessing to work with Holly because, talking to her, like sometimes when you talk to other fighters in the gym, like they don't understand what I'm saying because they come from different backgrounds. But it's like Holly comes from a boxing background. So when I was talking to her early on, sometimes I just forget that I have legs in there, that I can use my legs to get people off me when I'm on the ground. And she was like, yo, I was the same way when I first started. So just to have her say, yeah, but sometimes you have to think about this and just remember that in MMA, even though it got all these different arts, we have to always use our strong points and always punch, like no matter what position you're in, if you're on the bottom, if you're on the top, if you're being controlled or you're controlling somebody, she's like, don't get too jitsu-y, don't get too much into the wrestling, we got to stick to our game, and just kind of add to that. But she was like, always remember, like, I know in jiu-jitsu, like we only do jiu-jitsu when there's no punching, but she was like, just remember in the MMA fights, no matter what position you're in, you can always throw a punch, and that can make people change up their mindset. Like a girl may be thinking like, oh, I'm about to go in there and take Claressa down. But if you go in there and keep your hands and your feet and your knees in her face all day, she can't even think about that. She's trying to think about how not to get hit. So she was like, always keep your hands moving. And, you just learn the ground game stuff, for just in case. But she was like, you can always punch and jog somebody's brain up to where they can't be thinking about those moves, because jiu-jitsu is it's very complicated. It really is. It's so many different moves, and you really have to do that for a very, very long time for you to get the hang of it. But she was like, you got to keep those people thinking. So that's why I knew when I punched Brittany Elkin in the third round, I knew like her mind went into survival mode. She forgot all about everything she knew about jiu-jitsu, and she just started covering up because those punches were hard. And I think she probably felt the hardest punches I've ever hit anybody with in my career, because it was ground and pound.
Yeah. I think it was Matt Hughes who said it once upon a time. You hit a black belt once, they become a brown belt. You hit a brown belt, they become a purple belt. Like, the more you hit them, the less that jiu-jitsu black belt goes down.
She does it with her hands. She'd be like, black belt, brown belt, thumb belt, white belt. Funny.
Exactly. It's so true though. I mean, that takes you right out. That'll jujitsu them right out of there, punch them in the face, So
right.
With that being said, one of the conversations we've had as you made this transition is just how much you've learned, Claressa, in a very short amount of time. Now, you're an incredible athlete, so you adapt to it quicker, I'm sure, than the average person. But can you kind of give me a sense of, over these last, let's say 4 months since you had that fight, how much do you feel like you've grown and evolved just from that fight until what we're about to see on October 27th?
I've actually grown a lot. And I was telling people, back in 2018, when I first had started thinking about MMA, I was like, I really didn't know why there was people saying that boxers can't transition. I mean, especially me. Like, I'm a very, very smart boxer. I use mostly my skill when I box. Like, yeah, I got power and I got speed and stuff like that, but I have a very, very high IQ, right? So I already knew that I could learn anything and that I learned things fast. So the average fighter, or boxer or athlete can come to MMA, and it may take them years. But for me, it's going to take me less time because I learn it. It's in my mind. I practice it. And then all of a sudden, like, I own it and I'm able to do certain things that other fighters can't do, plus my athleticism. So I was already telling people that, and I was like, I'm going to be able to learn fast. I believe that Johnny Bones was telling me that Kayla Harris has spent 2 years getting ready for her MMA debut. And he was like, and you're coming from boxing and you don't even have a background. You only have boxing. And he was like, you only spent 6 months. And he wanted me to wait and have more time. he was like, how about, how about you practice for a year and then you have your MMA debut? How about you practice for a year and a half? And I was like, no. I was like, no, I've already been here since December and we already got the fight scheduled for June. And I'm just not going to back away from a challenge, and I'm like, Brittany is my next opponent and that's how I'm getting ready for it. And that was my mindset back then. And so even with this fight coming up with Abigail, it's like everybody wants more time. And I just feel like, look, I'm going to take advantage of the time that I have. And if they say, hey, we got to fight for you in 8 weeks and it's this person, I'm just going to go to the gym and brainstorm with my coaches and grind. And they're going to teach me and I'm going to learn and I'm going to add it to my arsenal. But the past 4 months, the coaches, Coach Wink, Coach Jackson, Coach Tusa have been very, very happy with me. And it wasn't like that first camp. They were very frustrated. First camp, they were very, very frustrated. And then it's like this camp, like we had some frustrating days, but it wasn't like, it was like maybe a day here or a day there, but it wasn't like how it was first camp. Like, we got to work those get-ups every single day, twice a day. And we had to work it and work it and work it. And one day it's clicking and one day it's not. So it's been a lot more better sparring days and better cage, working days. And I really feel more, I feel more confident and comfortable to go to the ground. So I think that's a blessing, but it's a curse for the other girls because if their game plan was just to go in there and take me down, they're in for a real huge trouble.
Yeah. Well, and Abigail Montes, you mentioned, she's more of a kickboxer, more of a striker. But, of course, of course, if she gets the opportunity, she's probably going to try to take you down. That's going to be, the big thing with you, at least early in your career. Everyone's going to think that's your kryptonite, so to speak. But you showed it against Brittany Elkin. You survived it. And you came back and you actually finished her on the ground, which was so impressive. So can I imagine no matter what Abigail throws at you, you're ready for it. And you kind of know going in, she's a kickboxer, but she's going to be grabbing at an ankle at some point, probably.
Yeah, I saw one of her interviews where Abigail said she was going to outstrike me. She was going to show me she's a better striker. And I look forward to that, but I don't think that any woman in this world is a better striker than me. Now, she may throw some better kicks, but with that being known, me and my team have worked a lot on kick defense, and we've continued to work on our ground game, and we've added some kicks and stuff to my arsenal. So you're going to see a well-rounded fight. And I don't think I don't think Abigail has ever been hit hard, really, by a fighter, as she's only 2-0 in the pros. And I don't know how many amateur fights she had, but I watched her 2 pro fights. And just against, opponents who weren't athletic, who weren't that very skilled, kind of girls, just who she was, she was able to bully, and she's not going to be able to bully me. So I look forward to the fight with her. And I'm really coming to have a war, and it can be whatever kind of war she want to have. If she want to take it to the ground, let's go. If she want to stand up and she want to strike, let's go. But I'm going to do whatever I have to do to win. So it's not really a straight game plan on how to beat her. Like, just stay on our feet and strike with her to beat her. I got all different kind of game plans, and I'm gonna do whatever I have to do to beat her. And we've been working on a lot of things that's going to shock a lot of people on October 27th.
Absolutely. One of the big things you've done making this move over into MMA, Claressa, is you've talked about you want to be the GOAT. You want to be the best in combat sports history. You want to be a champion in both MMA and boxing. But one of the big questions has been, if you gave up boxing, how much more time could you devote to mixed martial arts? Now, you didn't take a boxing match between, your last fight and this fight, but it's only been 4 months. I know you've been committed to doing both. Has any of that changed in your mind, though, as you continue to do MMA? Because there is so much involved in MMA that you put boxing on the back burner. Because I know you said in an interview somewhere out there, you wish you had actually come to MMA a little earlier, for a lot of different reasons. I know we've spoken at length about the kind of disrespect women are shown in boxing. I'm not going to rehash that, but is there any part of you that feels like you do want to put boxing on the back burner a little bit to focus more on MMA, or where's your head at right now?
I'm able to focus on MMA. Actually, with this fight, October 27th coming up, I have a boxing match in the UK, December 11th, up on Sky Sports. So I'm still considering doing both. I don't think it's that many fights left for me in boxing. I know I want to beat up Savannah Marshall, next year. I would love to fight against another undisputed champion, rather it be Franchon Cruz at 168 or it be Jessica McCaskill at 147. But I'm only 26 right now, and I'm going to continue to do both boxing and MMA. But I know whichever year that I choose to do the PFL tournament, that I will be taking off boxing for that entire time. So if that's, if that's for a year or if that's for, 2 years, getting prepared, that's what I'm going to do. But I can always take a boxing match in between here and there and just do it because I'm so skilled, and these girls just cannot compare to me. So you give me 4 weeks to get ready, I'll go in there and beat anybody in boxing. But I don't know. Maybe within a year or so, maybe I will just be focusing on MMA. You never know. It really depends on how MMA is lucrative to me because my purse has went up in boxing. And I do have a larger fan base from MMA. And so it's actually helping my boxing career. So I don't know if I'll stop boxing, but I know I definitely have 3 more fights lined up for boxing. And then I still have my MMA fights next year. But when I decide to do the PFL tournament, I'm not going to be doing any boxing because I really want to win the million.
And I know from talking to you in the past, like one of the reasons you went with PFL versus, let's say, going to like the UFC was they're not rushing you. They're not saying you got to be fighting the best in the world in 2 fights, 3 fights. So would it be safe to say, because we are coming up kind of the end of the year and you got this fight October 27th, the tournament is probably more like 2023? Is that kind of what you're thinking? Like, I imagine you're not going to do the tournament next year.
I'm going to let my team decide that. I really don't know, because I'm a different kind of athlete. I'm a phenomenal athlete. And we haven't just been preparing for Abigail Montez and Brittany Elkin I've been sparring with Holly Holm, who is a top-notch, MMA fighter. I've been sparring with Arlene Blenko, who's also, one of the top 5, Bellator, women, and she fought against Chris Cyborg. So I've been able to get into the cage, with those girls and, just learn from them, to spar against them and, to try to make it be as competitive as possible, So it's been some very, very interesting sparring sessions. And I've just been learning a lot. I've been learning a lot, and it's been giving me a lot of confidence that just maybe it could be 2022. Or if my coaches say, hey, we want to make sure we fix this and fix that, then we'll pick 2023. But I really don't know what they're going to pick. I think we'll wait to see after this fight and see what they decide.
Yeah. Another thing I saw, you had retweeted an article with Peter Murray, the CEO of PFL, as they talk about some of the big plans they have coming up in the next year, talking about pay-per-view, talking about crossover fights. And I think one of the biggest mistakes there's a lot we could talk about, the problems of the mistakes they made with women's boxing, not promoting women's boxing the way they should, and women's MMA has, kind of taken off in that respect. But now that they're talking about doing crossover fights and doing pay-per-views, is there a chance you could even partner with the PFL on maybe doing a crossover boxing match with PFL, maybe doing something like that down the road? Like, because it seems like they're very supportive of you, and it seems like they have a lot of big plans coming up in 2022 and beyond.
I'm definitely going to be a part of that. I just don't know in what way. I don't know in what way are we going to do that. But I don't know. I mean, would it really be called a crossover match if I'm already a boxer and I go against another boxer? I don't know.
Well, maybe they, like I said, maybe, I know Chris Cyborg has talked about doing boxing. You've talked about Amanda Nunes doing boxing. I don't think Amanda Nunes would be out there, but hey, you never know. I mean, like I said, money on the table. Maybe you get a crossover fight like that.
Hey, any of those girls who want to box against me, they're more than welcome to step inside the ring with me any day, anytime. But as far as in MMA, we're going to take a rain check on those ones.
Well, and the thing is, you got plenty of time. I think that's what gets missed a lot when people talk about your career. You are so young. You're 26. I mean, Daniel Cormier, who's one of the greatest fighters of all time, he didn't even start training and try to transition to MMA until he was 30, 31. So you got so much time. And you're not really in a rush. Yeah, you got plenty of time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I have plenty of time, and I want to retire from boxing when I'm 34. In MMA, I really haven't put a time frame on it yet. But I feel like I can make millions in MMA way faster than I can make millions in boxing. So if we have to take the route for MMA to get to the millions, then that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Claressa, before I get you out of here, a couple things real quick, kind of housekeeping items. I know that, and I'll say this honestly to you, I think Twitter and social media are probably the worst possible way to try to get a point across to anything because it's 180 characters and you're not really able to kind of like actually get your thoughts across. I've done it and I've tried to stop doing it because it's just impossible. But I know you had a response to a couple people the other day about the whole the comic book character thing, the Superman thing. And I know a lot of people have kind of critiqued you about that. I want to give you a chance, like here, just to kind of respond to the criticism about that, because I don't think Twitter's the way to do that. So I figured I'd ask you now about that.
I didn't see any criticism, as I didn't look at that. And I stated my opinion, but I fully support the LGBTQ, whatever the letters are, I don't really have nothing against them. That's just something that I had tweeted, and I didn't really see a whole bunch of people responses. I had got a call that it was getting some traction, but that's just what I posted. And sorry if it hurt anybody's feelings. It wasn't my intent, but that's just what I had felt at the time. So, and the tweet is still up and it's going to stay up. So it's not like I have anything against anybody. No, it's just how I'm just in full support of them. So they don't have to be all down my neck, whatever, support the LGBTQ, QT, whatever it is. But I don't really have a problem with them. I think that the whole, just when it like comes to that whole community, and I feel like we're all minorities, not just Black people, but, gays, trans, bisexuals, everybody, we're all like a like a minority. So it's more of like a sticking together thing. But I don't think that they should be so sensitive to where when anybody has a different opinion, they kind of, we're going to cancel this person. We're going to attack this person. Like, that's why I didn't really respond. I didn't really respond to a whole lot to people on there. Like I really didn't even see the comments, because I know me. I know that I don't have anything against anybody's way of living. You know what I'm saying? And nobody should people may think that, women shouldn't box, or, women shouldn't do this or women shouldn't do that. And I do those things, but I'm not being sensitive to them about it and, cursing them out or trying to cancel them. So I just feel like we should just allow everybody to have their own opinion and just not be so sensitive, really. Honestly, if you ask me how I really felt. But there's a lot of things in this world that a lot of us do not agree on, but that doesn't mean that we're against it. Like, I'm not against the LGBTQ. Like, I actually founded those people. I think that they're great. Honestly, that they're like how they come together and, shut down people and attack people. I actually think it's like, I wish Black people had that kind of energy. You know what I'm saying? But I don't really have nothing against them. And like I said, I didn't read those comments, but if it hurt anybody's feelings, my bad, but that's just my opinion. And we all are allowed to our opinions, and nobody should be attacked for that. Like, relax.
I know Twitter, as I said, Twitter is probably the worst place to try to have any kind of actual nuanced conversation. Social
media platform that I have. I don't know how I ended up with 77,000 followers, because I don't even like Twitter. And because Twitter just allowed too many trolls and people to attack you. Like, I've actually made my page where only people that I follow can actually comment to me. Because it's like strangers, and people will just create 10 fake pages and harass you all day. And I got tired of blocking 15 people a day. I mean, if I showed you the people that I block on there and they write stupid stuff, I could just say, hey, good morning, Twitter. And then there's somebody talking about Claressa, you're a bitch. Claressa, you're a monkey. Like, they just jump on there and say fucking anything. And they'd be like, why? Or Claressa, get back in the kitchen. And you know, women shouldn't be in sports. And it's every single day. So I had to finally shut that filter off. And my Twitter has been 98% better. But I've ran into maybe 2 little weird comments since. But it's been like 2 weeks though. So 2 bad comments in 2 weeks is great for me.
Yeah. Now, on a more positive note, the other thing I want to ask you about before I get you out of here is I'm sure you've seen the news. I saw recently that your hometown, Flint, Michigan, is going to be naming a street after you in the near future. I know you don't I know you don't become a great boxer and a champion for those kind of things, but it's got to feel good because I know you've been so loyal to your hometown. I know we talked about when you were promoting your first ever all women's boxing event, how proud you were, to take it home and go to Michigan, things like that. What does it mean to you? I mean, it's got to be pretty cool. You're 26, you're going to have a street named after you.
You only know 2 people in my life who I've met in person who have a street named after them. And one is Terrence Crawford and 2 is Muhammad Ali. So to be joined with those, 2 men and to have my street named after me in Flint, it's huge. I think it's definitely earned, rightfully so. And I think only special people get, streets named after them. We got people who have done a lot of things, but I think in order for you to be able to get a street named after you, you have to really be involved in your community and really just be like a champion of the people. So I am a champion for the people in Flint. And I've always made sure that when people say, hey, she's from Detroit, I'm like, no, I'm from Flint. Because even though we're super close to areas, it's like I was born and raised in Flint, and I'm not ashamed to say I'm from Flint. And I actually do a lot of giveaways and stuff like that, and a lot of turkey giveaways and shirts, hats, and gloves and school giveaways. So I'm always involved like in the city in Flint. And I'm happy that, that the kids can be walking to school or catching the bus or whatever, and they can ride past Claressa Shields Street. And it's right down the street from the gym the first gym I ever put a pair of boxing gloves on is right down the street from Burston Fieldhouse. So I'm super proud of that, and think, I want to thank everybody who was a part of that. The people on the street voted yes, and the councilman and everybody just was all for it. And they call me Flint's favorite daughter. So I wear that name proudly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, because I know how loyal you are to your town. It's awesome to see that loyalty paid back. So that's really, really cool. Congratulations on that. Like you said, I'm with you. Not everyone gets a street named after them. So that's pretty awesome. So congratulations on that. Claressa, thank you again for taking the time for me. I really do appreciate it. Have a good rest of your training camp. I know it's kind of almost wrapped up now. Safe travels out to the fight. Best of luck in the fight. And thank you again for doing this. I really do appreciate it.
No problem. You're welcome.